Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Office of Tax Appeals. We're ready to begin with the appeal of Miller. OTA case number is 240-616-447. This hearing is being live streamed, recorded, and transcribed electronically. To ensure we have an accurate record, we ask that each person speaks one at a time and avoids speaking over one another. Also, speak clearly and loudly. When needed, I or any panel member will interject to ensure proper transcription. After the hearing, OTA will produce an electronic transcript upon request. The Office of Tax Appeals is an independent and neutral agency. It is not a tax court. All three panelists are co-equal decision makers, and we can ask questions at any time. With that said, are there any questions before we go on the record? Mr. Miller, do you have any questions?
No, I was just going to ask the same thing because I mean this is quite intimidating. But I'm like, is everybody I'm looking at against me? Is it me against everybody here? Is anybody on my side?
Um, that's a fair question.
I mean,
Well, sure. So, similar to our previous pre-hearing conference, the answer to your question is no, not everyone here is against you. The Office of Tax Appeals, which uh, is an independent agency, we're separate from Franchise Tax Board. My job and the job of Judge Fasig and Hearing Officer Wilson is to hear your side and make a neutral decision based on the facts and applicable law.
okay, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because like I
So
said, if you go ahead, go ahead.
we're just here to listen to you, and then we'll make a decision based on what your arguments are and what is said here today. Okay, as well as
Okay,
the briefing and the documentation.
okay.
All right. Any other questions before we go on the record, sir?
Oh no.
Okay. Franchise Tax Board, do you have any questions?
No questions. Thank you, Judge Long.
Thank you. We are opening the record in the appeal of Miller. OTA case number is 240-616-447. This matter is being held before the Office of Tax Appeals, and today's date is November 20th, 2025. The time is approximately 9:30 a.m., and this hearing is being convened virtually. Today's hearing is being heard by a three-member panel. My name is Keith Long, and I will be the lead administrative law judge. Judge Amanda Fasig and Hearing Officer Kim Wilson are the other members of this tax appeals panel. All three panel members will meet after the hearing and produce a written decision as equal participants. Although the lead judge will conduct the hearing, any judge on this panel may ask questions or otherwise participate to ensure that we have all the information needed to decide this appeal. As a reminder, the Office of Tax Appeals is not a tax court. It is an independent appeals body. The panel does not engage in ex parte communications with either party. OTA will issue an opinion based on the party's arguments, the admitted evidence, and the relevant law. For the record, will the parties please state their name and who they represent, starting with the representatives for Franchise Tax Board?
Good morning. My name is Mina Mohadas. I am here on behalf of Respondent Franchise Tax Board. Thank you.
And good morning. My name is Adam Seuss, attorney for Franchise Tax Board. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Miller, if you could just say your first and last name for the record.
Well, Thomas Allen Miller.
Thank you. The issue to be decided in this appeal is whether appellant has shown error in Franchise Tax Board's proposed assessment of tax. My understanding is that there are no witnesses today. Mr. Miller, can you please confirm whether there are any witnesses and whether you would like to provide testimony?
Well, there's no witnesses, but I'm gonna briefly talk. So I know we discussed whether that was just me talking or testimony. I just have a very brief
sort of statement.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll just continue to monitor. If we think that you're veering into a testimony situation, we'll give you a quick swear in as a witness, and we'll go from there. Sound good?
Okay, yeah, yeah.
All right. The exhibits for this appeal consist of FTB exhibits A through J. These exhibits were discussed at our pre-hearing conference, and they are admitted without objection. Today's hearing is estimated to take approximately 40 minutes. Mr. Miller, you requested 10 minutes to make your presentation, and you may begin when ready.
Oh, okay. What I did is, like I said, I'm not obviously I'm not an attorney. I haven't Googled and looked anything. I'm just going off of just what I know. And there's a couple conversations while we were in Afghanistan that we overheard, but we didn't pay much attention to. Maybe it's applicable. I don't know. But like I said, I'm not here to the law is the law. I don't certain things I don't agree with. Federal employees have kind of got the short end of the stick when it comes to deploying into a combat zone. And I think I did read at one point where they said if we were allowed the same opportunities as when I was on active duty as a Marine, that we would overburden the tax system. And I thought that's a pretty crazy statement to make, because there's not that many federal employees, which is what I am now. I've always been with the Department of Defense or Department of War now, federal career, active duty Marine and federal employee. There's not that many federal employees that deploy. There's a lot more than there used to be, but there's not that many that would even remotely come close to burden the tax system. And so I take that in. I'm already rambling off of my little very short bullets that I've made to keep me on track. Is I know during the process when I was contacted by the very first person, I don't know who she was with, but I think she was with the California Tax Board or something of that nature. And this caught me by surprise. And I just kind of thought, in going through what I did have, which is just nothing more than, the records for TurboTax, I just thought, oh.
Mr. Miller, you know what? I think it would be best if we just sort of accepted this as testimony. So let's consider you to be a witness for yourself. Okay. And so what we do with testimony, as we discussed at the pre-hearing conference, is if it's testimony, we can accept it as accept what you're saying as evidence. And if it's just argument, we have to just accept, or if it's not testimony, we have to just accept it as argument. Does that make sense? Since you're talking a little bit about your time deployed, I think it would be a good idea. So, so why don't we, if you would please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. All right, continue.
Okay. What I was going to say is, as I lead into the questions, some of the questions that came back to me from, I'm not too sure if it was anybody that's on this conversation or not, but they asked for my orders, and I think the big thing that the state hinged on was whether I was active duty or not. And I came and I said, well, no. I said, I'm not on active duty anymore. I'm a federal employee. But I said, when it comes to deployments, it's the same. And when I say it's the same, I'm talking about I'm issued a weapon. I have rounds. I'm in a combat zone. I'm doing everything. I'm seeing dead bodies. I'm under attack. I'm doing everything that an active duty person would do. So to have it separate, and this is why I say, I'm not here to argue the law. The law is the law, but I think it has to start somewhere, and somebody has to say, hey, you know what? Hold on a minute here. This group of individuals, they should have the opportunity to have the same opportunities and the benefits, if you want to call it a benefit. But like I said, I do. I sleep, eat, train. I do everything the same as whether it's a Marine, Navy, sailor, Army, Air Force, whatever. So that's why, I think it's wrong. But you know what? A lot of things in life are wrong. But just in this case, I think it's wrong, because if you haven't been in combat, if you haven't been through the system to prepare you it's really easy to just say, well, you're a contractor, you're a federal employee, and you're not active duty. So we're just going to do this for this and that for that and forget about these people. So, like I said, I did every and anything that they did. IEDs, whatever it may be, under tax shelter, I'm right there with them. So, I just I bring that up. Like I said, when they try to verify when the tax board, is that correct to say call the tax board, or when they're asking me to produce stuff? You know, that's why I say it's a little bit intimidating, because when I see different people here, I'm like, okay, who am I referencing? Who am I talking to? Who's who's coming back and providing and these statements and asking me to provide this and that. So that's why I say that part is kind of intimidating. I don't know who's
Sure.
what,
Okay,
but
so real quickly, the way that it works is that, yes, you were initially asked for documentation from the Franchise Tax Board. So just calling them the tax board is appropriate, or FTB would be fine too.
okay.
Okay, and then when you submitted your appeal after Franchise Tax Board kind of made its final determination, then anything that you submitted was your appeal letter, and anything that was submitted with the appeal letter was submitted to us, the OTA.
Okay. Well, thank you. But like I said, I'm just, like I said, I don't even know if this board or anybody on the board here is, oh, okay, well, we're going to take that. That's a good point Mr. Miller made. And we're going to take that and we're going to go whatever the process is, and we're going to try and fix this. I just say, to me, I said, it's just kind of, that's why I say, I think it's wrong. And I'm briefly looking at what I get, because I'm not going to take this into, as the world turns and Young and Restless soap opera. I'm just trying to, throw a few things out that I didn't think, when they were asking me questions like residency. Why would you ask me about residency? Because, I mean, I know why, but it's like, I'm not, okay, yes, I do. Some people will, young Marines, or I'm going to say Marines because I'm a Marine, young Marines may send their wife home to wherever they're from because they're going to be gone, save on rent, all this other stuff. But an established individual is not going to say, okay, tell my wife and my kids, I'm going to deploy now, so I'm going to move you out of state, out of California. I'm not going to do that. You ask where my bank accounts, and I know this is all about residency. Well, my main bank account is the Pentagon Federal Credit Union. It's in Washington, D.C. So some of these, that's why I said the process, I just think it's a little bit, I don't want to say it's against the taxpayer, but it's just, I do understand, we have to have a basis of laws and stuff like that. But when it comes to a combat zone and combat and deploying on these places all over the world, which I'm glad I'm done with that. You know, I just, it just really irritates me to sit there and think that California is going to wants to tax me on what I earned, and the other people, well, and others they don't tax. I just think it's wrong, and that's why, like I said, I want to take this, and I don't want a sympathy vote or anything like that. I just think it should be looked at. It should be looked at, and maybe it is. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not Googling this stuff. I didn't get in here and do any of this. I didn't call anybody. I just said, well, this is what I recall. This is what I've got. Looked over and said, hey, this is wrong. I'm not a burden to the tax system. If I'm not a burden. I mean, I'm just not. So, um, the last thing I got on here, and like I said, this is just maybe just telling you guys a little bit of what it's like is, when you talk about, again, active duty and federal employees, as it's specific to me, even when I slept, even where I was housed, I'm outside the compound and I'm being guarded by Afghans who, at a drop of a dollar, 50 cents, will switch over to the Taliban. The military is inside the compound, guarded by their own. So if you really want to make a comparison, if there's a comparison made, to say, okay, well, let's just look at what Mr. Miller's saying and experience, and let's look about the military as it pertains to active duty. It's like, well, I get the short end of the stick either way. Yeah, I've got a weapon, I've got knives, I'm prepared, but it's just, I'm rambling, but I'm trying to give you a little bit of what it's like to be there. And it is relevant to me when I say, well, well, screw it. Let's finish the whole thing. Let's tax them too, but um, that's all I'm going to say because, like I said, I'm going to start rambling, and we don't have time for that. And I'm not looking for sympathy or nothing like that. I'm just trying to explain a little bit. And I don't know, maybe somebody might say, hey, Mr. Miller brought up a few things. Maybe we do need to introduce, I don't know, whatever it is, legislate. I don't know what introduce, and maybe we do need to look at this. I don't know. Probably not, because again, there's not that many of us. So it's like, but like I said, there's no Johnny Cochran moment here. There's no dream team behind me. I've got no basis on any law. I just wanted to say, hey, this is the kind of the reason why I think it's wrong. And that's it. I am done. I don't have anything else to say unless somebody wants to ask me a question.
Okay, well, so I am going to I'm going to offer Franchise Tax Board the opportunity to ask you questions if they have any, and also my co-panelists. I personally don't have any questions, but I do want to say, first that I can see and hear from your presentation how frustrating this is. And so I want to thank you for coming and making your presentation today. And also thank you for your service. And, obviously you've done a duty for our country, and we all appreciate it. And so before we move to co-panelists' questions, I just want to check with Franchise Tax Board if they have any questions for you.
Thank you, Judge Long. No, thank you, Mr. Miller, for your service, and no questions.
Welcome.
Okay, and Judge Fatigue, do you have any questions?
I do not have any questions at this moment. Thank you.
Okay, and Hearing Officer Wilson, do you have any questions?
I do not have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Mr. Miller, we're going to move forward with Franchise Tax Board's presentation now, and they also requested 10 minutes. Franchise Tax Board, you may begin when you are ready.
Thank you, Judge Long. Good morning. My name is Mina Mohadis. I, along with my co-counsel, Adam Sues, represent Respondent Franchise Tax Board in this matter. The issue on appeal is whether appellant has demonstrated error in FTB's proposed assessment of additional tax for appellant's 2018 tax year. FTB's proposed assessment stems from its determination that appellant was a California resident and ineligible to exclude wages from his California taxable income under the same income tax exclusion applicable to military service members of the United States Armed Forces. For the 2018 tax year, appellant filed a California resident income tax return and excluded his total wages from California taxable income on his Schedule CA. Appellant reported zero tax owed and claimed a refund of his income tax withholdings, which FTB issued in April of 2019. Subsequently, in August of 2022, FTB issued its notice of proposed assessment, in which it considered appellant a California resident and assessed additional tax based on the inclusion of appellant's wages in his state taxable income. Appellant timely protested the MPA and stated that his wages were earned from January through May of 2018 as a civilian employee of the Department of Defense in an Afghanistan-based combat zone. Appellant alleged that he performed assignments similar to those of military service members of the United States Armed Forces and should be entitled to exclude his income earned in a combat zone under the same income tax exclusion provision applicable to military service members. On appeal, appellant has stated that he should not be considered a resident of California when he was ordered to be in Afghanistan. First, in terms of appellant's California residency status, review of appellant's California resident income tax return, responses to his residency questionnaire survey, and his statements provided in oral hearing with respondent all indicate appellant cannot be considered a non-resident of California for the 2018 tax year. Specifically, appellant conceded that he was a resident of California and that he maintained greater connections to this state than any other for the 2018 tax year. Moreover, appellant also did not dispute that he was a California domiciliary for the 2018 tax year. Second, in terms of appellant's eligibility to exclude his income earned in a combat zone, Review of both appellant's Form W-2 and authorization of temporary duty travel indicate appellant was a civilian employee with a working title of budget analyst for the Department of Defense while in Afghanistan. Appellant has not disputed that he was a civilian employee of the Department of Defense for the 2018 tax year, and as a result, appellant may not be considered an active military service member with any branch of the United States Armed Forces for the tax year. While California law allows for the exclusion of combat zone compensation earned by a member of any branch of the Armed Forces of the United States, such exclusions do not apply to compensation earned by civilian employees in a combat zone. Thus, California's combat pay exclusion is not available to appellant, and as a California resident, appellant is taxable on his worldwide income. In conclusion, it is respondent's position that FTB has properly determined appellant was a California resident for the 2018 tax year and is ineligible to exclude his wages under the same combat pay exclusion provision applicable to service members of the United States Armed Forces. For these reasons, respondent respectfully requests that its action be sustained. Thank you.
Thank you. I do not have any questions. Judge Vasik, do you have any questions?
I do not. Thank you.
Thank you. Hearing Officer Wilson, do you have any questions?
I do not have any questions. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So with no questions from my co-panelists, Mr. Miller, we're going to move to your final statement, and you requested 5 minutes, and you may begin when ready.
I have no statement other than just what I've already said. Yeah, I have nothing left to say.
All right, thank you. Well then, as we move to concluding this hearing, I just want to, again, thank you for your service and thank you for coming and being heard. As we mentioned, these hearings are live streamed, so anyone watching can hear what you've said with respect to the treatment on the law. And I'm sure it's a frustrating situation, so appreciate you talking about it. This case is submitted on Thursday, November 20th, 2025, and the record is now closed. Thank you all for coming today, and the hearing panel will meet and decide this appeal later on. We will send a written opinion of our decision within 100 days after the record is closed. Today's hearing in the appeal of Miller is now adjourned, and we will begin our next hearing shortly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.